What does 20 years of data look like when we look at Nintendo and PlayStation and Xbox game console wars? What's it look like? Well, let's take a look. I thought it would be fun after sort of a day of talking about what they each need to do on their respective platforms, PlayStation and Xbox in 2023. Why don't we look at the last 20-something years, 21 years from Data is Beautiful. Make sure and check out their video. I put myself right here in front of the clock because I didn't want to be in the way of any of the beautiful data. So let's just watch this, and I'll just kind of commentate on, the year. Obviously, I graduated in 2000. So in 2002, you're kind of seeing the absolute explosion of the PlayStation 2, just dominating. It's unbelievable to see. They're all pitted against each other. It's also really sad to look at GameCube way down there for me. That actually makes me sad because at the time, I moved away in 2002. I moved down to Kentucky in 2002. But leading up to that point, we were a Nintendo family. We really, really were. So seeing GameCube just sort of struggle and actually surpass the Xbox, though, that's actually really impressive. Look at it go in 2004. I really wonder what made it spike up like that in comparison. You have to remember when you're watching this too, you'll notice like when the year resets, some of the numbers will dramatically switch and change. It did that a couple of times, and I'm not really sure why. I don't know if that's explained in the comments below or anything like that. But you can kind of see the number going up for PlayStation 2. And this is when, okay, so I was watching this earlier. This is when it gets really interesting because the Nintendo DS just suddenly decides to be king of the world. And I don't think it comes down for a very long time. So we're in 2006 right now. And that sucker is just up there doing work. Here comes the Nintendo Wii. So I do remember I met my wife in 2005. And I remember she got me a Nintendo Wii. And she had to wait outside a Target to get one. And I was really excited because the Nintendo Wii was kind of unprecedented with the motion controls. And around this time, so I got married in 2007. So I believe it was it was in my first year of marriage that I got an Xbox 360. So I'm pausing this one. I don't exactly quite remember when it was, but I think it was around this time because I got an Xbox 360 and I got World at War. And it's crazy to see just how far down the Xbox 360 is compared to everything else. The Nintendo Wii was dominating right alongside of the Nintendo DS. It just really shows you just the absolute market dominance that Nintendo has had for such a long time because the DS just absolutely chills up there for a really long time. The crazy thing is the PS2 is still rocking and rolling in there in the top four as the PS3 sort of starts to mount its initial launch here alongside of the 360. And then here comes the 360 and the PS3. Not surprising. I believe this is around the time that Xbox really starts to get a pretty strong foothold. They obviously lose that when the Xbox One comes out. But I think this is around the time that the 360 does start to get into a pretty strong position. Again, that Nintendo DS is just not quitting up there. Just absolutely crushing it. I don't even understand. See, because I remember growing up with a Game Boy, and it just boggles my mind that little DS has just been up there kicking like a ninja this entire time we've been watching this video because we started with 2001. And the DS was on there shortly after we started the video. PS3 now, taking the lead over 360, though, as well as 360 is doing. You can see 360 just sort of holding steady, but the PS3 has mounted a decent takeover. But here comes the 360. Here it comes. I feel like this is... I remember around this time, so in 2010, I'm not creating content yet. I'm not doing that yet. So around this time, I remember playing a lot of games on the 360. It was really easy to get games when they launched. I remember sort of drifting away from my Wii. It sort of felt like the Nintendo Wii just sort of felt like a gimmick. at that time. And then PS3 surges here, and I'm not really sure why. I don't know exactly what happened when we rolled over into January 2011. I don't really remember this time, and what would have caused that. I'm kind of in the way of these guys. Oh, he's moved the clock, so I'll try to get out of the way. It's hard. There's nowhere for me to go on this screen. Data is beautiful, but we'll let it continue. I'll do my best not to block the numbers as best I can. And the PS3 again has surged, and that was such a brief amount of time. I mean, look how brief that was. The poor Xbox, man. This 21 years of being in the number one spot for August, and then, no, just kidding, Nintendo DS takes the crown right that fast. Now, they are above PS3 right now, so they can, well, not for very long. So, okay, and the clock's back. So at this point in time, you can just see for 21 years, just Xbox has really struggled to break in a dominant way. Now, they are a fighter. They're a contender on the 360. They're considered one of the leads at this point, right? They're neck and neck with PS3. They're sort of trading places. Surprising that the Nintendo 3DS is up there, just, again, not even touched by either of these systems, seemingly. Here comes the Wii U. I don't think the Wii U is going to make much of a splash. It'll probably sit there for maybe, half of 2013, and then I'm imagining it's gonna plummet back down and not really have a good position. The PS Vita's on there as well, so we're a little bit past the halfway point of 2013. PS3 still maintaining that lead. All right, so here we go. Now, everybody remembers this. This is the time when the Xbox One really fumbled their marketing. The always online thing was a huge sticking point. The price, making everybody have to get the Kinect. It really didn't do well. Funny thing about always online, it's such an assumption now, like nobody really fights against that. It's just kind of an assumed thing. There are plenty of people who don't have that always online internet connection, or obviously they have to deal with the fact that, like, hey, their internet's pretty slow. But in general, it's not as balked at now. People don't think of that as like an insane idea that you always need to be online. But this right here, you can see the PS4 just shoots out of a cannon, and the Xbox One isn't even surpassing the PS3. You really have to consider that. When the Xbox One launched, it didn't even surpass the PlayStation 3 at that time. Look at it. Look at it. There. That's how long it took. So it took that long for the Xbox One to pass the previous PS3. Meanwhile, PS4 is at the top. So this was a big shift. So instead of it sort of being like a neck and neck race, we saw that between the 360 and the PS3, sort of trading places up and down, like Xbox would surge and drop and surge and drop. And now this is the generation where Xbox falls woefully behind. And you can see why. Like, the PlayStation 4 is just not even touchable up there, and the Xbox One took a while to even overtake the PS3. And then here you can see a bit of a surge, still third behind that Nintendo 3DS. The Nintendo 3DS is just such a monster. It's amazing to me. Wii U had a bit of a comeback there. I'm not really sure why. I wonder... No, that wouldn't have been Breath of the Wild. I wonder what triggered that. So around this time, I believe, is when I started creating content. It was either 2014 or 2015. I always have a hard time remembering when was the first time I started making videos. A lot of the times I have to cheat. But you can see there that, that Nintendo, it was 2015. It was February of 2015 is when I started making my first videos. February 9th was my first published video. And so this is a month after I started creating content. So you can see the DS starting to slip a little bit, and the Xbox One finally, has climbed into second place. Now you can see here, Xbox One starting to put up more respectable numbers, still half of the PS4. Just really, really not. Just having such a hard time. The Xbox One was a good unit. It wasn't that it was bad. It was really that opening press, man. They really fumbled the ball. Now, I know it was in this generation that they considered shuttering the gaming division. It was a couple of years prior to 2016. I believe it was between 2014 and 15 when they almost shut the whole thing down, at least from the reports that we've read. And you can see Xbox One, again, getting into a respectable position in second place. Again, there's nobody else really on the market. The Wii U, failed in many ways, and the Nintendo Switch isn't on the board yet. Now, then when Nintendo Switch gets on the board, oh, buddy, here it comes. I knew it was coming. This thing is insane. I mean, it shot out. You saw that. Boom. Just immediately in second place. Now, watch this thing. Watch this Nintendo Switch. What's amazing is the PS4 is still ahead because the Nintendo Switch really, really did well at launch. It was very popular. Everybody was very, very excited. Series X and PS5 are loaded down there in the hopper. They're ready to go. And slowly but surely, you're going to watch the Nintendo Switch just total take market dominance here, and there it is. So it shifts into first position, and the PS4 obviously is going to slowly just start to slip. That's understandable this late. You can see Xbox also slipping in total, right? It's not about placement now. So watch the total. See how the PS4 and the Xbox One are slowing down? Totally understandable. Not a surprise at all. And then the Switch just maintains that first position for a very, very long time. So now we're about to transition into the worst year of everyone's life, 2020. And this is when we're going to start to see the PS5 and the Series X and S start to go head-to-head. So if you remember, 360 and the PS3, man, they were trading positions a lot. It seemed kind of not so bad. And now we're going to see 2020 when we get into Series X and S and PS5. We're going to jump up there. Look at the Nintendo Switch, just unbelievable. Look at the gap. Prior to those guys getting up there. Look at the gap between the Switch and everybody else. It just, no one's even close. Just absolutely bonkers. And here comes PS5 up and then back down. Up and then back down. You can sort of sense the supply issues because there's a couple of times here where the Series X and S and PlayStation 5 just completely switch positions and then switch back because one gets to kind of populate the market and the other doesn't. There was at least, I think, 1 month where Series X and S surpassed PS5. It might have been December. And then they immediately trade positions again. Switch again, having zero problems, it seems. Here comes PS5 creeping up on Switch numbers, and there it is. So November, they switch positions, and now we're in December. See, 1 month, Series X and S got to take a little bit of a surge there. I think, there it is again. February, March. Okay. Oh, that's right. I remember this. Okay, so I remember the November thing. They had a surge or something. I believe it might have been in Asia. And then this was this big first quarter thing that a lot of people were touting. They were like, Series X and S are surpassing the PlayStation 5. And it was the first quarter of 2022. They really did. It was really due to supply issues of PS5. That's not me sort of coping. You saw how long it took for the Series X and S to surpass PS5. But they are closer than the 360 and the PS3 were, right? Series X and S are in a closer contention. They're not getting absolutely blown out of the water. But here's where PS5 is going to really start to pull ahead because you're just sort of seeing that distance getting bigger and sort of just being maintained. And so that's the end of the video. So you can see there's a long history. Please support that video. Data is Beautiful, such a cool channel. You can really see that it's been a long time. It has not been a short time. At the very beginning, we want to go back to the beginning. This is when it first starts out. Even when the Xbox and the PlayStation, obviously the Xbox is beating the PlayStation here, but this is where the PS2 really got to get into a very, very good position. It had amazing market saturation and did a very good job. I would be really interested to go back and study why the GameCube had that surge late in its life cycle like that. That was so interesting because I remember, I had that before I moved away, and I moved away in the middle of 2002. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I think it was fun looking at the years that behind us, and obviously looking forward to the years ahead. I would love to see the Series X and the S and the PS5 continue to stay close like that. I know that PlayStation 5 is going to blast out ahead probably in 2022. We're already seeing that. We already saw that in 2023. We already saw that in 2022. PlayStation 5 did a little bit of a better job there, outselling. And I'd like them to be closer. I think that's better for the market. So if you like this video, check out my live streams, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, do all the things, and I'll see you in the next video.